Welcome to the Daily AI News Digest. I'm glad you're joining us. Today is July 13th, 2026, and as always, we're cutting through the noise to look at actual market realities. This broadcast is brought to you by bestai.org. Let's get right into it. On the agenda for today's Explainer, we're breaking down the biggest corporate moves, diving into some product and model realities, and tracking new regulation and business signals. Then we'll wrap up with the analyst's take and our market outlook.
Starting off with Section 1, the biggest corporate moves today.
We're starting with a massive legal collision. Apple has just filed a federal lawsuit against OpenAI and its chief hardware officer, Tang Tan. The core allegation here? A coordinated campaign to exfiltrate Apple's proprietary designs and blueprints. Now, we know OpenAI has been aggressively pushing a post-smartphone hardware roadmap. You might remember their $6.5 billion acquisition of IOPRA products last year. Well, Apple is claiming this sudden acceleration in physical devices is being directly fueled by their stolen intellectual property.
If you look at the precise language in the federal filing, it's pretty striking. Apple flatly states that OpenAI's hardware business rests on a foundation, quote, rotten to its core by its illegal reliance on misappropriated trade secrets. They're alleging that former engineering supervisors basically downloaded highly confidential hardware files on their way out the door. Now, Apple isn't just asking for damages. They are demanding a complete design overhaul of all upcoming OpenAI physical devices to strip out any proprietary Apple tech.
Moving on to Section 2, Product and Model Realities. OpenAI has officially rolled out the GPT-5.6 family, and they're taking a distinctly tiered approach here. At the very top, you have their flagship model, Sol, which packs specialized maximum reasoning and ultra-sub-agent modes for highly complex tasks. One step down is Terra, engineered for balanced, everyday enterprise workloads. And finally, there's Luna, built specifically for cost-efficient, high-velocity edge inference. So, stripping away the PR, let's look at the actual numbers. On the independent Design Arena leaderboard, GPT-5.6 managed to secure the #1 spot with an ELO rating of 1353. That narrowly edges out GLM 5.2 and Claude Fable 5. But here is the critical data point. OpenAI priced Sol at just $5 per million input tokens. That signals a very clear strategy, pushing frontier performance while keeping a tight lid on compute costs for developers. And right on cue, Anthropic responded with some direct counter-programming. They've adjusted their promotional calendar for Claude Fable 5 yet again. Free access was originally supposed to end on July 7th, then it got bumped to the 12th, and now they've extended it to a July 19th deadline. Paid subscribers get to keep a strict 50% weekly usage cap on Fable 5 at no extra cost. It's a clear look at just how intense the battle for developer retention has become in this current product cycle. Let's pivot to Section 3, Regulation and Business Signals. The sheer physical and capital footprint of this industry is starting to force some pretty unprecedented sovereign policy shifts. The number you need to pay attention to right now is $42.6 billion. We're seeing reports that OpenAI is in sensitive discussions with the Trump administration to transfer a 5% equity stake directly to the United States government. To put that into perspective, that dollar amount is calculated based on OpenAI's $852 billion post-money valuation from their massive funding round back in March. Now, structurally, this proposed equity transfer would operate a lot like a sovereign wealth fund. The stated goal is to share AI-driven economic gains with the public while OpenAI preserves its operational independence. But let's look at the business reality. This is a highly calculated maneuver. By tying public interest to private innovation, OpenAI is looking to grease the wheels on regulatory friction. Specifically, they need those gigawatt-scale data center approvals and unimpeded access to the national power grid. And while power is definitely a bottleneck, silicon capital is another, and it is tightly concentrated. Over the past year, North American pure-play data center AI chip startups raised a total of $11.75 billion. But get this, Cerebras Systems alone accounted for $7.65 billion of that, which includes their $5.6 billion IPO. So yes, capital is absolutely pouring into infrastructure, but it's pooling around a very small handful of players. You can actually see this sustained heavy demand for hardware reflected perfectly in Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company's latest earnings. TSMC saw their second quarter revenue surge by 36% year-over-year, hitting a record $39.62 billion. Since they are the foundational manufacturer for both NVIDIA and Apple, those figures give us a very grounded, undeniable indicator of the sheer scale of physical AI infrastructure being deployed right now. Which brings us to Section 4, the analyst's take. So, what do all these developments actually mean for the industry moving forward? What do these macro events signal for the enterprise AI ecosystem? We have to cut through the hype and look at the cold business realities emerging from the data. The dominant narrative is decisively shifting. It's moving away from pure software capabilities and straight into physical constraints and enterprise governance. We are seeing this play out in 4 very clear steps. Step 1. Record-breaking capital inflows are colliding head-on with physical supply chains. Step 2. That pressure triggers massive legal battles over physical intellectual property, like Apple and OpenAI. Step 3. Companies are seeking out sovereign state partnerships just to guarantee power grid capacity. And finally, Step 4. Enterprises looking at all this complexity are actually deprioritizing specific foundation models and instead focusing on building strict model-agnostic architectures. There's also a severe corporate accountability crisis emerging as these autonomous agents scale up. Right now, nearly 25% of corporations officially list AI agents on their organizational charts. But human management just hasn't kept pace. Managers are showing a 16% drop in catching errors made by AI systems compared to human employees. And currently, 44% of supervisors say they expect external teams to verify AI outputs. Basically, when a process breaks down, the default corporate excuse is rapidly becoming, well, the AI did it.
Finally, Section 5, Market Outlook and Outro. As we wrap up today's explainer, here's what the market is keeping its eye on next.
Market participants should be closely monitoring TSMC's upcoming Q2 earnings call this Thursday. We're looking specifically for their critical capital expenditure guidance. Also, keep an eye out for any preliminary federal guidelines regarding the structure of that proposed OpenAI government equity stake. And lastly, enterprise teams need to prep for Cloudflare's impending September 15th automated bot blocking policy. That's going to default block AI training bots on new domains, which is a significant shift in data access.
Thank you for tuning in to this explainer. Be sure to visit our sponsor, best-ai.org, for more grounded industry insights. I'll leave you with this final thought to consider. As tens of billions of dollars continue to clash with the physical realities of our power grids and corporate intellectual property, will the future of this industry ultimately be built in the data center or litigated in the courtroom?